Few possessions had been taken, children's toys and feeding bottles remained inside, and the family didn't take their passports. Onkar Verma is Mrs. Chohan's brother. He's come over from New Zealand to help with the search.
To hear nothing is extremely unusual and out of character. I'm very worried. I need to know whether they are safe, and I'm concerned about their safety.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another gripping episode of our true crime series. I'm your host, Ashwin, and I'm thrilled to have you here as we unravel a haunting case that shook West London to its core. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Alright, let's get started with today's case, a heartbreaking mystery surrounding the sudden disappearance of the Chohan family. Amarjit Chohan, known to many as Anil, was a successful businessman living in West London with his beloved wife Nancy and their young son. Despite a significant 21-year age difference between them, Amarjit and Nancy shared a bond that was the envy of those around them. Their love was deep, built on trust, mutual respect, and a shared vision for their future. Amarjit poured his heart into his thriving fruit import-export business, Ciba Freight, which provided a comfortable life for his family. The company was a testament to his hard work, but it also kept him incredibly busy, often pulling him away from home for long hours. Even with his demanding schedule, Amarjit made sure to keep Nancy in the loop. He had a sweet habit of sending her voice notes in Punjabi, updating her on his day, whether he'd be late from the office, had a meeting, or was planning a business trip. These small gestures showed how much he cared, ensuring Nancy always knew where he was and what he was doing. Nancy, in turn, was immensely proud of her husband. She admired not only his success, but also the man he was: dedicated, loving, and always putting his family first. Nancy, however, had dreams beyond their life in London. She longed for Amarjit to take early retirement so they could return to their homeland, India. She believed India offered better opportunities for their children's education and a chance to raise them in a culturally rich environment surrounded by family. This dream grew even stronger after the birth of their second son, Ravinder. With two young children to care for and Amarjit often tied up with work, Nancy felt the weight of parenting alone in a foreign country. London was home, but it lacked the extended family support she craved. To ease the burden, she invited her mother, Charanjit Kaur, to move in with them from India to help with the kids. The arrival of Charanjit brought joy to the Chohan household. Nancy was the youngest daughter in her family, and her loved ones were thrilled to see her thriving. Initially, some had been skeptical about her marriage due to the age gap with Amarjit, fearing it might lead to problems. But seeing Nancy so happy, raising her children with a devoted husband by her side, put those worries to rest. Charanjit, in particular, was overjoyed to witness her daughter's contentment. She often shared her happiness with Nancy's brother, Onkar Verma, who lived thousands of miles away in New Zealand. Onkar and Nancy stayed close despite the distance, talking regularly over the phone. In these calls, Nancy's voice radiated genuine happiness as she gushed about Amarjit's kindness and their life together. Onkar could hear the love in her words, but he wanted to see it for himself. He made plans to visit London to meet his sister, her husband, and his nephews, eager to share in their joy. Little did he know, this visit would never happen as planned. On February 14, 2003, Onkar had a routine phone call with Nancy, but something was off. The usual warmth in her voice was replaced by worry. She told Onkar that Amarjit hadn't come home the previous night and his phone was switched off. Alarmed, she had called Ciba Freight, where employees informed her that Amarjit had left for an urgent business meeting in Holland. This raised red flags for Nancy. Amarjit's passport was with the UK government due to a prior legal issue, so how could he have travelled abroad? Then, she received a voicemail from Amarjit. It sounded like him, but there was a catch. It was in English, not Punjabi. This was highly unusual, as Amarjit always sent voice notes in their native language. To Nancy, this small detail screamed that something was wrong. Onkar tried to calm his sister, suggesting she might be overthinking it. He reassured her that Amarjit would likely return soon, safe and sound. But deep down, Nancy's instincts told her otherwise. Tragically, that phone call would be the last time Onkar heard his sister's voice. Just one day later, on February 15, 2003, 2 days after Amarjit's alleged trip to Holland, the entire Chauhan family vanished from their London home. Nancy, her 2 sons, Ravinder and Davinder, and her mother, Charanjit Kaur, were gone without a trace. They left no note, no message, and no hint of where they might have gone. It was as if they had evaporated into thin air. Days after their disappearance, a man arrived at Siba Freight with startling documents. The papers claimed that Amarjit Chohan had left the UK with his family and transferred ownership of the company to someone else. The signature on the documents appeared to be Amarjit's, and the new owner was none other than Kenneth Regan, a former employee and a trusted friend of Amarjit's. Let's take a step back to understand who Kenneth Regan was. In July 2003, Regan had joined Siba Freight, fresh out of prison. His criminal past made it difficult for him to find work, as most employers were wary of hiring an ex-convict. But Amarjit, who had faced legal troubles himself years earlier for tax evasion, saw something redeemable in Regan. He believed in second chances and hired him, hoping to help Regan rebuild his life. Over time, Amarjit grew to trust Regan completely, treating him not just as an employee, but as a close confidant. Regan, however, had a dark history. In the late 1990s, he was known as Captain Cash, a nickname earned from carrying suitcases stuffed with money earned through illegal activities like money laundering, forging passports, and drug smuggling. His time in prison was for drug-related charges, and while he claimed to want a fresh start, his actions told a different story. One day, Regan approached Amarjit with a tempting offer. He claimed to know investors willing to buy Siba Freight for £3 million. For Amarjit, this seemed like the perfect opportunity to fulfill Nancy's dream of retiring early and moving to India. On February 13, 2003, Amarjit agreed to meet these investors with Regan, and that was the last time he was seen alive. When Onkar arrived in London and learned of his sister's disappearance, he was frantic. He went straight to the police, urging them to investigate. Initially, the authorities were slow to act. Amarjit's prior conviction for tax evasion led them to assume the family might have fled to avoid legal issues. It wasn't uncommon for immigrant families to leave the UK abruptly, returning to their home countries without notice. But when police finally searched the Chohan home, what they found changed everything. The house was frozen in time. Food sat untouched on the kitchen table, clothes were still in the washing machine, and the children's toys were scattered across the floor. In the living room, Charanjit Kaur's sacred Guru Granth Sahib, a holy book she cherished and never left behind, lay untouched. Her return ticket to India was there too, along with other personal belongings. It was clear the family hadn't packed or planned to leave. They hadn't gone willingly. They had been taken. On April 22, 2003, a father and son were out fishing at sea when they spotted something floating on the water's surface. It was a body. When police arrived, they confirmed it was Amarjit Chohan. His hands were bound, his mouth sealed with tape, and a deep wound on his head indicated he had been brutally murdered and dumped in the sea. The discovery sent shockwaves through the investigation. In July 2003, Nancy's body was recovered from the same waters, followed by Charanjit Kaur's in November. Heartbreakingly, the bodies of the 2 young boys, Ravinder and Davinder, were never found, leaving a painful void in the case. The police now knew they were dealing with a heinous crime, and their focus turned to Kenneth Regan. His criminal past made him a prime suspect. Known as Captain Cash in his earlier days, Regan had a long history of illegal activities, including drug smuggling, which had landed him in prison. After his release, he had wormed his way into Amarjit's trust, but his intentions were far from pure. Investigators dug deeper, tracking Regan's phone records. They found that on February 13, 2003, Regan's phone was in the same location as Amarjit's, a house in Forge Close owned by Regan's father. Two other individuals, William Hornsey and Peter Rees, were also present at the same location. Both men had criminal backgrounds, raising further suspicion. On February 15th, Regan and Hornsey's phones were traced to the Chohan family home, linking them directly to the scene of the family's disappearance. When police searched Regan's home, they were met with an eerily pristine scene. The house had been recently renovated, with new carpets, furniture, and not a speck of dust in sight. It was as if Regan had gone to great lengths to erase any evidence of wrongdoing. The police left empty-handed, fearing the case might remain unsolved, but a crucial tip changed everything. Belinda Bruin, a woman who owned a farm, came forward with a chilling account. She told police that days earlier, she had caught Regan and two other men digging on her property. When she confronted them, Regan claimed they were building a drainage ditch and asked her to tell anyone who inquired that he was helping with her water system. Suspicious, the police searched the farm and found damning evidence: strands of hair, pieces of jewelry, and clothing fragments. Forensic analysis confirmed the hair belonged to Amarjit and the jewelry to Nancy. The final nail in the coffin came during a re-examination of Amarjit's body. Hidden inside one of his socks was a letter addressed to Regan's home. It was a heartbreaking clue, suggesting that in his final moments, Amarjit had hidden the letter, perhaps knowing it could lead police to his killer. With overwhelming evidence, police arrested Kenneth Regan, William Hornsey, and Peter Rees. The trio denied any involvement, but the facts spoke for themselves. The police pieced together a chilling theory of what happened. On February 13, 2003, Regan lured Amarjit to the Forge Close house under the guise of meeting investors. There, Regan, Hornsey, and Rees restrained Amarjit and forced him to sign blank documents to transfer ownership of Seba Freight. Between February 15th and 17th, they murdered Amarjit, likely realizing he would never cooperate willingly. On February 15th, Regan and Hornsey went to the Chohan home, where they killed Nancy, Charanjit Kaur, and the two young boys. The bodies were initially hidden at Belinda's farm, but when Regan suspected the police might search the property, he moved them to the sea to cover his tracks. Regan's motive was greed. He wanted to seize control of Seba Freight to use it as a front for his drug smuggling operations, hoping to revive his criminal empire. The documents he presented at Seba Freight were forged, using the signatures he coerced from Amarjit. In the end, justice was served. Kenneth Regan and William Hornsey were sentenced to life in prison for their roles in the murders. Peter Rees, believed to have been involved only in Amarjit's murder, received a 23-year sentence. For Onkar Verma, the loss was unimaginable. He had dreamed of seeing his sister's happy life, but instead, he was left with grief and unanswered questions. The bodies of Ravinder and Davinder were never recovered, a painful reminder of the brutality of this crime. This case is a stark reminder of how far greed can drive someone, even to the point of taking the lives of innocent children. It's a warning to stay cautious, no matter how trustworthy someone may seem. The Chohan family's story is a tragedy that continues to haunt those who hear it, a tale of love and dreams shattered by betrayal. Thank you for joining me for this heartbreaking journey into the Chohan family case. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe and share it with others who love true crime. Keep your loved ones close, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye.